Welcome to the All New Marvel Roundup, your guide to the weekly Marvel Comics. I am Phil, and with me as always is Charlie.
Yes, I am.
Alright, let's dive in, because as we just said, it was a big week.
Okay.
Let's see, Nova number 30. Let's see. It's kind of the same thing we got last issue. Sam looking for his father. He kind of finds him, but he has to let him go on his ship because he has to go save the Earth from a huge meteor that one of the Chitauri threw at it. Well, no, it was like hundreds of asteroids. And everything got set in motion because Sam was looking for his father and offered a big ransom or a reward.
Oh, yes. When he pretended to be Deadpool, ruining Deadpool's good name.
Oh, yeah. Thumbs up. It was a decent enough issue.
Okay.
And then I'll switch to Moon Knight 14. This one was kind of weird. I mean, they're all kind of weird, but I don't know. Moon Knight's brought in to investigate a bunch of killings that look like it could be werewolves. And once he finds I don't know if they're still supposed to be werewolves, but they look more like dogs or coyotes.
Okay.
I don't know.
Were coyotes, maybe?
I don't know. It just like it almost like it looks like a guy with dogs in a cage. So, because in the beginning, Moon Knight acts like Khonshu was like meeting with some other spiritual entity, some kind of like dog god, I guess.
So, basically, this could be another crazy person who thinks he has superpowers.
Yeah. Yeah, so basically he just, like, beats on this regular guy who's been using these dogs to commit, crimes and stuff and murders.
Okay.
I'll give it a, so-so thumbs up. Then Daredevil 15. This one was kind of interesting. We get, the Shroud. I don't know if he's working for someone. Or he's just crazy as himself because he's looking for his girlfriend or his ex-girlfriend, Julia Carpenter.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got the owl hooked up to a bunch of wires and stuff. Basically, he can see everything in San Francisco through, anyone's cell phone, computer, most digital screens.
Mm-hmm.
And Matt's working with the owl's daughter to try to free him, but with the owl's help, the Shroud reveals all of Matt's secrets, because he's like, I don't have any secrets. The whole world knows my identity now. But then, meanwhile, everyone finds out Foggy Nelson's still alive because Matt faked his death, and a bunch of stuff with his new girlfriend.
Oh, boy.
So then at the end, the owl's the owl's daughter's like, I know one man who can help us clean up this whole thing. And the last 2 or 3 pages are just Matt saying, I can't believe hearing this guy's name again, I thought if I ever encountered him again, I'd kill him, I'd wring his neck, and then it turns out to be Wilson Fisk.
I was thinking that would be the case. But he is the kingpin.
Yep.
So, good.
Alright, and then I got Superior Iron Man number 8.
Okay. How did that go?
You didn't peruse this one in the store?
I did peruse it, and I'm not feeling Evil Tony. At first, he had me rooting for Evil Tony over the AI, but by the end of it, I'm like, oh, that's right, you're the Evil Tony.
Well, I'm thinking after Secret Wars, we're gonna go back to regular Tony
Well, I'm actually thinking it might, if he's still alive, it might be
because
Ultimate Tony.
yeah, well the new free comic book day, all new, all different Avengers has an Iron Man in red and gold armor, and he was talking about when we formed the Avengers, so I assume that's Tony.
Yeah. Well, wasn't Ultimate Tony a founding Avenger or founding? Well, I was saying Avengers, not
Oh,
Ultimate. So
that's
yeah.
true. Yeah.
Yeah. Or maybe it's MCU Tony.
Uh,
Da-da-da.
that's true. I never even thought of Ultimate Tony.
Yeah. There's lots of Tonys out there to choose from.
All right.
It could be 1970s Tony.
Well, let's see. Superior Iron Man 8. We see Superior Tony's in the old red and gold armor, and he tells Pepper, he's like, "It's me, it's the real me, it's over." And then you hear, "No, it's not." And the copy of Tony's brain is survived and downloaded itself into the Silver Centurion armor. And let's see. And then Superior Tony's like, "Well," he's like, "you guys stay out of my way. You better not come get me." Because Tony goes back to Stark Island and invites like half the city to a big party.
Oh, Tony.
Because he sent out a text to the whole city. And Pepper's like, "Did he?" And the copy of Tony's mind's like, "Yes, he just sent a booty call out to the entire city."
Was using them as human shields.
Oh yeah, that's what they say.
Yeah.
But Pepper and the copy of Tony's mind tell Teen Abomination they're gonna help him because he's with them now. But the copy of Tony's brain goes to confront Tony, and he's like, "What are you gonna do?" Because he's using a program I guess he was working on. He can control the brains of everyone with his extremists.
Yeah.
So, Copy Tony sends in a bunch of armors to like swoop in and pick up the civilians.
Yay.
So then it's just down to the two. It's down to the two of them fighting again. Deja vu.
All over again.
Yeah, and then at the end, Tony's superior armor kind of bulks up, but it almost looks like Hulkbuster, but silver.
Well, actually, what I kind of took from that, because remember, he has symbiote in that armor. And I thought, and because he starts using the we in there too. Now, maybe he's talking about that him and the AI, but it kind of reminded me of like, oh, he's venoming out in his armor. So
It could be, yeah. I mean,
that's why I was going like, oh, maybe, rooting for Tony.
Yeah, between the inversion.
Yeah. So anyway, but so was it a good book?
Yeah, I'll give it a thumbs up.
There you go. Okay, so I got 3 you didn't read. Let's start with Shield, where we found out what is going on. Well, not wholly. Well, yeah, we actually did find out what's been going on with this ongoing plot. That was kind of a slow starter. This opens up with people shooting a bunch of mystics, including Satana, Damien Hellstorm, Shaman, and Jennifer Kale. They come after Wiccan with these magic bullets, literally magic bullets, and Scarlet Witch comes in and saves him, makes the guy's gun jam, and hex powers, and they find what they realize is that these guns were made by a troll blacksmith who's selling these to a group called Mystek, who in the previous issue were trying to raid Doctor Strange's Sanctum Sanctorum. And what we find out is after they confront what's his name, Korgun the troll, they destroy all but one of his guns. Fitz takes one because Fitz says he wants to study it. But then he shoots Wanda with it because he is possessed. And this sends out a mystical web ensnaring seemingly all the superheroes on Earth, turning them into mindless ones to prepare for Dormammu's entry into our universe. As a standalone book, good book, fun to read. You get to see a nice little interaction between Agent May and Scarlet Witch. Chaos versus order, as Fitz tries to describe it. Although Scarlet Witch is annoyed by what she called his Fitz-splaining, which is over-explaining the social dynamics in the situation. I don't know if I've ever seen Fitz do that on the actual series, but I hope they incorporate that as a quirk for him. Scarlet Witch says, does he ever stop Fitz-splaining? And May says he soon will. Yes. So, fun book, good book. Kind of weird when you've got so many books that are kind of wrapped up in this big continuity storyline of moving towards this end. And you have this one book that is theoretically contiguous with the continuity, but is completely separate in story and structure. It's a good story. It's an interesting story. It's nice seeing the S.H.I.E.L.D. team with all these characters. But it very much pulls you out of the larger, end of the world storyline that we've been reading. And speaking of ends of the world, one gets avoided in the last issue of Secret Avengers. They don't really explain how, except for the fact that it happens. That Maria Hill, that after these Cthulhu-like monsters were going to come into the world, Maria Hill imagines a better world and stuff happens, and then everybody lives, which is good. They send Maria Hill on a mandatory vacation. She says, thanks, I could use it. MODOK apparently retires to Ohio with a monkey named Mr. Lovejoy, where they're making iced tea, and Maria Hill comes to visit. For those who don't recall, MODOK had a thing for Maria Hill. And although it's not really seen as reciprocal, they seem to have something of a friendship brewing here. So it's quite sweet. And honestly, you come in on the last two issues of a book, and they tie up a bunch of plot lines. You're like, oh, wow, what was that plot line? So I think I'm going to have to get the trade of this when it comes out, because now I want to know what this old Russian lady was doing. Because they seem to imply that she might have had a thing for Hawkeye. I don't know. But Black Widow and Spider-Woman decide to help her out with her business in some way. Apparently she was doing weapons training in the back. And then we have in Peru, it looks like the villain of the piece, Snapper, Hawkeye, and another gentleman who I'm not quite sure who he is, all apparently doing peyote in a sweat lodge, and Deadpool drinks all the peyote because he says he needs it because it's not going to work for him otherwise. And we find out that that the other gentleman, the Snapper's real name was Broseph. So, and because he said, no one ever asked me my real name, and he has a very silly name, but that's okay. And the Fury and Cthulhu apparently fall in love, which is very sweet. And Vladimir, our sentient bomb, who essentially what happened was when Vladimir fell, he created a black hole in the at the doorway, which reversed things, and he is in Tlan, the mystical land where the Cthulhu things come from, and the writer of the books that this story that the monsters came from is a disembodied voice there, and he grants Vladimir his wish, which was eyes and a mouth and a temple made of gelato. So sure. And and he draws him a mouth. And then the final scene is Nick Fury Jr. and Coulson going surfing because Coulson has finally learned to go with the flow. A fun book, enjoyable, thumbs up to it. And like I said, it makes you want to find out what the previous threads that got paid up here were. Also, great to see Deadpool still kicking in the Marvel Universe after his death, which is pretty much a guarantee. I don't think
That's
any
Deadpool.
death since Captain America's has been so prime for retcon as Deadpool's. But it's very good. Very, very good book. Very fun. Last one I read by myself was Inhumans, number 14. Now, when last we left the Inhumans, they had gotten dumped by Eldrak in an ambush, and we see what Eldrak's reward for this was, which is he gets a big, giant metal body, and he's all happy, and he's running around because he hasn't been able to just go places on his own in centuries for all we know, and he's very happy about that. So, yay, Eldrick has legs. Meanwhile, Medusa and her group are fighting off the Lash and his evil Inhumans, which also it's interesting because I see they have Medusa like making fists with her hair over her own fists, sort of using her hair as an exoskeleton. I've never seen anyone have her do that before, but it's kind of interesting. And they are fighting with Lash, and then we cut back to Lineage, who has shot Gorgon and left him paralyzed, and he's trying to figure out what he's up to. And we get the revelation that what he's up to is there is an Inhuman item called the Codex, which I guess gives you all kinds of answers about Inhuman DNA. And Lineage's power is he has the knowledge of everyone everyone in his lineage. So anyone that he has a relationship to, he has all of their memories. And they have the head of the Enelux's head or something of that nature in a jar. And he apparently, for 20,000 years, has been the head of this Inhuman corporation, using his powers to sort of manipulate humankind, be evil, but also help humankind progress. And Lineage drinks him. Sure, why not? He drinks him to gain all of his knowledge as well, to basically add his knowledge to his own. And then it seems that Enelux appears in the Inhuman afterlife, the Inhuman hell, with Karnak. Karnak is planning his escape from Inhuman hell, but the other ghosts in Inhuman hell don't want to go with him. And then when Enelux shows up, he says, "Sure, let's go." And when our last scene is this new baby of Dante's niece or nephew is about to be born, and so I think it's Iso is running to get Gorgon because he wanted to be there at the birth because the baby had been exposed to teratogenesis gas, and she walks in on Gorgon and Talon, or not Talon, Gorgon and Lineage, and Lineage is all crackly and powerfully, and it concludes next issue, or possibly in the Inhuman Annual. I'm not sure if the last issue is the Inhuman Annual, or which is on sale 5/16, or the next issue is another one. But we'll figure that out, and we'll be back here next week for that. And that brings us, big thumbs up there, of course, and that brings us to our 4 books we both read. Okay, so we have got...
Oh, just real quick.
Yeah.
One of the new Free Comic Book Day issues, there was a preview of Uncanny Inhumans.
Uh-huh.
And we see Medusa, I guess, has a new lover. She shares like a little passionate kiss with him. Guess who it is?
Who is it?
Johnny Storm.
Johnny Storm? Oh, I thought he had a
Yep.
thing with Silk. Okay. Well, good for them. Let's see here.
All right. You want to start with Fantastic Four?
Okay. Yeah, I was looking at the Secret Wars preview. Okay, that's fine. So, you want to start with Fantastic Four or the last adventure of that bomb throwing maniac Reed Richards, or one of the others?
Fantastic Four, probably.
Okay, so let's the end of an era for at least 6 months, and we have I like the wrap of this, although as predicted, the Frightful Four are there to be allies to the Thing, which is cool. Of course, what happens is the Quiet Man realizes that I actually can't turn off the invasion because I was betrayed by the Psycho Man, and Reed basically says, yes, his name is the Psycho Man. First clue. Fighting ensues. When Sue gets hurt, Franklin wishes all the monsters to the cornfield, and the day is saved. Yay! Very, very, very actiony, adventure-y. Valeria helps the Quiet Man and Reed crack the code. Because it's based on some weird little microversial language, which of course she knows. So, as luck would have it, Johnny Storm gets his powers back, and Reed's like, I don't know, he got them somehow. Maybe it was the inversion, maybe it was because we were next to Jim Hammond at the time, but you got him back, so yay.
Don't look too closely at it.
Yeah, don't look too close. And we are heroes. And now this is something that intrigues me. When the Quiet Man escapes and he can turn into anyone he wants to, as you know, he seemingly, possibly, I mean, I don't know if that's supposed to be Willie Lumpkin, but it kind of looks like Willie Lumpkin. And he turns into Willie Lumpkin, which raises this question: has he been Willie Lumpkin the whole time?
Wiggling his ears.
Yes. Oh, yeah, he is wiggling his ears. Oh, there you go. Because actually that made me think, going into the idea of, because when the Fantastic Four first faced the Mad Thinker, because it's an interesting parallel in this story with the Mad Thinker story, because in that, Reed says, Mad Thinker, you could not have anticipated the human factor, which was Willie Lumpkin, worrying about the Fantastic Four and coming in to check on them. And so, that was the human factor that he could not predict because it did not fit into his model. Similarly, at the beginning of the issue, Reed is giving the Quiet Man something of a similar argument about how you approach this just from the numbers, but, we're these human beings in this team that rises above, and as I've seen us do so many times. So that I thought that was a neat tie-in, and again makes me wonder: was Willie Lumpkin the Quiet Man the whole time? Big thumbs up for the end of the Fantastic Four story. If nothing else, it gives a nice, decent callback. Not much to say. This is all pre. All the superheroes hate each other again. So this is just before everything goes to heck. But at least at least the Fantastic Four are reset to 0 before it all goes to heck. Johnny Storm with his new powers, he fights Boomerang, which goes about as well as you would expect for Boomerang, and then Johnny meets his old girlfriend from the 1960s, I guess. They certainly draw her like one of actually the art style's very much from that Kirby Lee era. And, they decide to go have a grown-up relationship as much as Johnny Storm has grown-up relationships. So, yay. And then our last bits are a cute bit between Sue and Franklin about what's real and what's not. And, the Thing has to clean up all the mess from the big attack, which is, as always, a revolting development. And then Reed and Valeria have some nice adventures and apparently Reed's family owned a cabin, and apparently Reed had a grandma, which makes sense that he would have had a grandma, but it's one of these characters that they mention and go, oh wow, we've never actually heard about his grandma before. So very sweet, nice human stories. What did you think?
Yeah, I really like that Reed and Valeria story.
Yeah, it was cute. Well, it's nice to see Reed. Although I kind of miss that he doesn't have his Franklin story. Him and Franklin used to have some very sweet stories too. But I guess now they're putting the people with insane superpowers, Reed or Sue and Franklin, together, and they're going to put the people with insane intelligence, Valeria and Reed, together. But that's fine too. Good book all around. Okay, you want to do Captain America before the Avengers or Avengers before Captain America?
Let's do Captain America.
Okay, so, let's see here. What happens in this one?
We're him trying to stop Baron Blood.
Yeah. So Captain America's trying to stop Baron Blood, and we get a nice little weird double cross in it. Well, Falcon defeats Baron Blood, but as he's fighting Baron Blood throws the blood, the Inhuman blood, in his mouth, meaning that he will never have children, which is very sad. Meanwhile, Nomad is murdering people left and right. Causes Nomad to fall, or not Nomad, causes Batroc to fall to his death and runs a sword through Baron Zemo. And then Zemo blows up the whole place, and so no bodies are found, because he could be dead again. Although later Cap and Sharon says, well, he's been dead before. So as I always say, we Rogers are never more dangerous than when we're dead. Meanwhile, Captain America does defeat Baron Blood, and he falls to Earth. He's a little bummed about being infertile now, but then Misty Knight apparently has the antidote that she stole from the Viper, gives it to him, and keeps Ian, the Inhuman, with the blood that makes you sterile, which is probably the weirdest superpower ever devised. She has him, and has him captured, and she also found Red Wing, and Red Wing's now a vampire because sure, end of the world's coming. Let's make the Falcon a vampire. It'll work. So Sam gets the antidote. He can now have babies again. Yay, babies! And we find out, big reveal, Misty Knight wasn't working for S.H.I.E.L.D. So who was she working for? Next issue, Hydra Ascendant. I can't imagine Misty Knight working for Hydra. I mean, sure, she's a hero for hire, but but I'm sure she has her limits. And yeah, but good story, thumbs up. Captain America saves the day, and at no cost to himself. Didn't even lose his bird out of the deal. So, yeah, they did a lot of pullbacks on that. I think where he. Oh no! All is lost, but he fights on. But actually, it's okay. You didn't lose. You didn't really lose what you thought you lost. So,
you know
yes.
what? That's why I got to give this. I got to give this one a thumb to the side, because every issue, just seems like they're like someone's dead. Then next issue, no, they're not.
Yeah.
For like the past 6 issues.
Yeah, and I think I do think that this this series did suffer a bit from having to it's kind of an accelerated pace, both because of the end of the world and just because they had to prove Sam as worthy of the Cap pedal, that they had to run him through the ringer. But of course, if you run him through the ringer too much, it's like you can't you don't really want to kill Ian because he's this new character and he's interesting, and but yeah, having everybody be saved by some Deus Ex Machina is a little odd. Um, and so yeah, I'll go along with your thumb to decide on that. It's I liked it just because Sam finally got a win. Although then it
Yeah.
turns out that what she wasn't for you. So I like that Sam got a win. I like that. You know, uh, I kind of actually, I was kind of thinking, oh well, the sterility thing is a neat side note to it. And I actually thought if they had kept it as an aspect of his character, that might have been interesting. Although I guess there's all sorts of issues with that too. But most although I did like I did like the line. I think mockingly where Benzema says, "Oh, I didn't realize that the Avengers had scientists." That obviously much more. It's much more severe than simply, oh, someone's going to be able to reverse it. So they emphasize that this is permanent, no fix, and then but actually we do have the fix right here. It's in the little injectable. So yeah, so a little bit is just so there, but but not as much just so as Captain Marvel was, I think. All of the wins here, I think, were within story parameters. Although I'm not sure if Falcons become vampires really that easily, but although that might come back to bite him in the butt too, because vampires can control other vampires. I think so. Maybe now Red Wing will be Baron Blood's thrall. I don't know. So that's going to be a whole other issue. So maybe it was all planned. So, New Avengers or Avengers next?
Avengers.
Avengers. So, while the world burns, Tony and Steve fight on.
Each other.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, it's pretty messed up, this whole thing. So they managed to defeat the aliens coming to destroy them. Although, very nice start with Captain Universe working in the diner, and Cap, being impressed that Tony was able to find her daughter for her, and then she gets really mad at Tony because he couldn't save the universe. And actually, I think she's mostly mad at Tony, though maybe she's mad at Cap too for not saving the universe. I don't know.
Well, she said Tony knew about it the whole time.
Yes, well, that's the thing, is Tony knew that there was no way that they could save the universe, which is I think this is the point. Although, like I said, well, when we get into the next one, I have some interesting theories on this, yeah. So essentially, they have decided they're gonna go build an ark, and only the bestest of the bestest people, the scientists and engineers, all the nerds, since the nerds built the ark, they get to pick who gets to go on. And big surprise, it's all the nerds. Thank you, comic books.
But Steve doesn't want Tony to go.
Yeah, well, that's because he's the bad nerd. He's the one nerd who isn't allowed, and he was too cool of a nerd. That's because he was the nerd who had all the supermodels and saying, "No, you can't come." Meanwhile, Maximus and Thanos are working with Ultimate Fury and Ultimate Reed to destroy the 616. And we're preparing for the War of the Worlds, literally. Although it's interesting because, of course, so we're building an ark, and Reed and Beast are hopping on with other superheroes. So are they like just bailing on the final battle? Will Cap and Tony die, or are they going to actually engage in this final battle with the 1610? I don't know. It's an interesting question, but yeah, we're all primed now for the Secret War. Secret War starts. There's only Secret Wars. Everything dies, which is, I guess, their point that hey. Only that one is life and one is death, and only one can win. Everything dies because I guess at the end of the day, Tony was right. There was no way we were going to fix this. That's sad. But thumbs up. I liked the intrigue aspect of it, and I liked the betrayal of Tony. Kind of reminds me a bit of the betrayal of Namor at the end of his bit. Basically, there are certain lines that superheroes don't like it when you cross, and they crossed them. And apparently, but what's interesting, what I find in that is what was the line that Tony crossed was lying.
Yeah.
Gonna be evil, okay, but you be evil in front of us. Because we all know, because and at the end of the day, there is this argument to be made that look, had Tony just been straight about everything, saying, "Look, we're not going to win this," maybe everyone would have said, "Yeah, well, we're going to keep on trying to find a way." But yeah, you're right. Well, we got to have that as our backup. Had he just made the obvious backup reality, the backup plan, then and maybe all this nonsense wouldn't have happened. I mean, and the fact of the matter is keeping Cap there, you didn't have to blank out Cap's memory just because we're going to also build a bomb. The fact of the matter is that bombs get built and Cap will be our moral center. So we'll say, well, tell you what, Cap, you'll be the one that gets to push the button. And that's that, and they could have solved these problems. So if only the superheroes would stop fighting and start talking. That's the problem with superheroes. They're always fighting.
Can't we all just get along?
But next issue, or in New Avengers, we get an all-villain issue, so that's fun. We get the secret origin of Rabam Alal. What did you think of this one?
I liked it. I've been waiting to hear your thoughts on this issue.
Well, I find it, here's what I'll say. It doesn't dissuade me from any of my previous thoughts on this. They reference again that, the juvenile Beyonder, but again, this idea that this Beyonder is a juvenile could just be that it is the first Beyonder, not that it is the Eternal Beyonder. They do, that, or that it is the younger, or that it's the baby Beyonder to these older Beyonders, more than these Beyonders are actually just multiversal aspects of them. And actually, what I think kind of supports my idea that these other Beyonders are multiversal aspects of the original Beyonder is when Doom has his big fight. Big spoilers here. When Doom has his big fight with the Beyonders, and a bunch of Beyonders seemingly are being defeated, maybe we get that's what causes there's only 12 universes left. And makes me wonder if each Beyonder is tied to a universe. So that in each universe ending, maybe a Beyonder ends as well. That's what I get back to. It's this idea of what is this experiment that the Beyonders are doing? What is their plan? Because, what you have the mice in the maze, essentially, trying to stop the maze without understanding why the maze is there. What are we trying to learn? And I think until we get what the Beyonders are trying to learn, and again, we have to go back to that first Beyonder and what was he trying to learn? And what he was trying to learn was what is desire and why do humans have desire? And of course, what that comes back to, as Iron Fist told the Beyonder in Secret Wars 2, it's because we are not one. That he had what humans seek, which is to be one with everything. And of course, Luke Cage kind of dismisses that as martial arts sweet Christmas, as it were. That in truth, what we all want is money, and then he turns their building into gold. Which, if you've ever wondered why Danny Rand seems to have so much money, even though he doesn't do anything like Tony Stark or anything, it's because the Beyonder Church is building into gold one day. And after the insurance settlement and having a whole bunch of gold to put in a vault, Heroes for Hire actually made out pretty well, I have to imagine. But yeah, so we find out in this that all the Molecule Men in all of the universes, and there's a Molecule Man in every universe, all share an existence. And apparently, when the Molecule Man kills one of himself from another universe, that is the first incursion. Now, this is, that when the Molecule Man is killed, that causes the incursion, and that is what. And again, it's not quite clear exactly what we're dealing with here, but it seems to be something along these lines. That basically the Molecule Man and Doom are the ones causing the incursions, expressly because they want to subvert what the Beyonders' plan was, and the Beyonders' plan was apparently to, I guess, blow up all of the Molecule Men at once. Although how the Molecule Man, that isn't quite clear, but seems that also interestingly here he has like a set of cosmic cubes around him while he's saying all this. So, I wonder if that's going to come into something. If those are actual cosmic cubes or just little cubic representations of universes. But yeah, so basically Doom is the one who caused the incursions, seemingly. Well, Doom and Molecule Man, and then Doom decides to build his religion and then his super weapon, because the idea is that I guess if you cause the incursions, you mess up the experiment, and although there's a bit of a circular logic here. It's like why are you causing incursions if that's the whole reason we got into this, was to try and figure out a way to stop the incursions. Although I guess as Doom says, what if we can save something if we can't save everything? And that's what he's working towards now, is how do you create a way to save something when everything is going to be destroyed? And I get the feeling, like I said, that Doom didn't realize quite as much as he thought he did, that each Beyonder might be its own universe and or be tied to each multiversal variation. And so when you destroy, and this actually feeds into my original theory of the first Beyonder being not a juvenile because he was the first. This ties into that because if you think about it, Owen Reese and that Beyonder were merged. So if killing an Owen Reese kills a Beyonder, then and thereby causes an incursion, causes that universe to collapse, then that feeds into that idea that actually the first Beyonder and the first Owen Reese are in fact simply the prime versions of them. So that's what I'm working. That's my working theory right now, and I don't know. I think it seems to be. I can read it as being supported by this book. I'm sure someone else could read it completely differently, but that's certainly how I'm walking away from it. Very good book. Very good deep insight into the world of Rabba Malal and what they were trying to do. Oh, I also found it interesting that the Black Priests were not created by Rabba Malal or the Beyonders, that they were seemingly something that the multiverse created as a defense mechanism, which kind of suggests that maybe the entire idea of Sorcerer Supremes are part of the universal defense mechanism. It's all very interesting. Well, that's all the books we read.
If you want to get more in-depth theories, probably these last two Avengers books, listen to Superconnectivity later in the week.
Yes, always do. And we're recording this on Free Comic Book Day, so if anything exciting happened on Free Comic Book Day, I don't know it yet. So, but maybe we'll cover some of that connectivity next week.
All right.
Happy Free Comic Book Day, everyone.
Remember, everyone, you can get a hold of us on Facebook, All New Marvel Roundup on Facebook, and you can get a hold of me, NightwingPDP@gmail.com, and on Twitter, I'm at NightwingPDP.
And I'm at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com, and I'm also at Charlie Esther on Twitter. So follow me there and like the Super Connectivity page as well. Okay.
All right, that's it till next week. So remember, Secret Wars is here.
Yes.